if you've never used Nearpod before, we're going to do a live-based lesson essentially. And so I will move the screens forward and hopefully our screen sharing will cooperate. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our Darlington County team. So my name is Hannah Teal. I'm one of the Instructional Technology Coordinators. And then I have 3 other face-to-face team members here. So we have Jonathan Scaris, who we're in with our team of 2, and he's one of our other Instructional Technology Coordinators. We also have Jennifer Gribbin, and she is our ELA and Social Studies Coordinator. And then Roderick Ray was unable to attend with us, and Jerry Rivers is our Math and Science Coordinator. And so Roderick Ray and Summer Craddock is here with us, and they are new. Summer has been with our district for about a month. She's one of our new instructional technology coaches, and Roderick has been with us for 2 weeks. So right now we have our instructional technology team of 2 coordinators and 2 coaches, hopefully have 4 by the end of the year. Okay, so this is a little bit about who we are as a district. So we're rural, as most of us here are, but we have just a little under 10,000 students. We have 21 schools, and that this year includes a virtual academy. We are one-to-one with iPads K-8, and we have MacBooks 912, and all of our students take home their devices. And this is our 2nd year on this Edmentum journey. So it's been pandemic fun of trying to make that work with this. So you all should now have a Collaborate board come up, and yours might look slightly different, but how many years has your district utilized Edmentum? Just any of the solutions, and if you could put your district name whenever you post it. So down, like mine at the bottom, you can share your thoughts, you can put images and then post it. So you can see, if you want, you can heart them, so like something between 5 to 2 years. Or, and if you're Edmentum friends, you can maybe say how long you have been with Edmentum, if you want to join in here too. Seems like a lot of us have gone through this pandemic journey together. It makes me feel a little bit better that we weren't alone in the fun that it's been through this time. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead because that's literally just trying to figure out about where we were. We weren't really sure what to expect whenever they asked us to share a little bit about our journey. So what I want to do, and at one point, one of my other team members is going to come up here too, but what I want to talk about is where we were before we chose these Edmentum solutions, where we kind of currently are in the journey, and where we hope to go, because there have been some roadblocks along the way. We've got some solutions and some things that we're going to try to meet some of those needs as well. So it sounded like some other from people sharing earlier that before we went this route, we had a whole lot going on everywhere. It was all very different. This school was using this app. This school was using this program. This school was like basically replacing a teacher with the program. We had some under usage, some over usage. It was just a little bit of everything, which made it very hard to figure out what was really working. So there was just no consistency and a lot of like sit and get programs where the teacher really wasn't involved in that process. Like they never really looked at the data moving forward. So our question was like, how are we going to fix this? And luckily we had initiated the discussion before the pandemic hit, but it kind of made it a fast track moving forward whenever the pandemic hit. So we went and decided to streamline. Okay, so now we have more of a streamlined solution, and I'll go into kind of all of those details. We noticed some gaps whenever we initiated. Here are what we have available for you, but we noticed some gaps, so we've tried to kind of adjust those. And we also, last year, or really the year before that, we initially had 3 instructional technology coordinators. One of them ended up becoming our director of our virtual academy. So it has been me and Jonathan through the pandemic trying to roll this out for our 10,000 students. So we knew that there was a need because we really couldn't do a lot of that support and discussion of the reports that you really need to have on a more individual school-based level. So we're excited to at least have started to hire some of our coaches and kind of build from there. We know that 4 will not be enough for right now, but we're hoping that once we get started, we can really make use of them and see the need of having more. Like having 1 person per school would be amazing. So we're just going to work on that right now. Okay, so a little bit about what we have adopted in this. We're starting really our 2nd year of implementation. So what we really wanted was consistency, collaboration, familiarity, personalized learning, but also to help with intervention. So we started, before we get to what we start, I want to see what you guys currently use. So you can click on multiple choices. And there is an option just so like right now, and you guys can see all of the names that I can make it hidden, but I can hide all of your names. I just wanted to see who was kind of like us. And I guess my Edmentum friends who kind of have all of them, so you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Okay, so it seems like a decent amount of us have at least like more than one solution. We're all a lot more similar than, you know, you don't always know how everybody else is doing in your little bubble. So if you're not familiar with this kind of platform too, you can see, I'll share this out with you guys. So in the student view now you can see the chart that has what everybody answered. So if we take out our no answers, we can see we have a decent amount of people that have some similar things going on. Okay, so now a little bit about how we utilize all of these solutions under that umbrella for us. So initially we started with exact math being the thing that we start with for our K-8 students for math and reading. So our K-8, they have their pathways based on their NWEA math scores. So that personalized path for them. This year we'll talk a little bit about our Courseware pilot, but we also have opened it up for our 9-12 students as well. We haven't fully implemented that part of it, but we're expanding it. Now we did notice kind of like one of the other people was talking about how kindergarten, there were some struggles with where exact path starts in the resources for our really emerging leaders. So last year we did a pilot for our after school program with reading eggs and got some really good feedback. So this year what we've done is we've purchased reading eggs for all of our students that are at an F&P level C or below. So whatever grade they're in, if they are that low in their reading level, then they have access to reading aids. And we use that as like a precursor to Exact Path. So once they kind of get past that C level, then they transition to Exact Path. And we're just starting that, so to be continued about how that works, but we're excited about kind of giving them that other opportunity as well. So we also have Study Island, and we know that there are some aspects of Study Island that can be similar to Exact Path, but how we've chosen to go with this is we start with Exact Path, and then based on the needs of the students, we use Study Island to supplement based on the resources that it gives for those students. Because we really wanted a solution that has the teacher very involved with what the students are doing. So we didn't want that sit and get teacher not involved. This way, the teacher has those resources directly related to their learning paths in Exact Path for the teacher to supplement with additional lessons and resources. And now for our high school solution, Jonathan Scaris is going to come up here. So you're gonna get through that way. To talk about our journey in the past and then also this year with Apex and Courseware.
Felt like I was on The Price is Right, you know, come on down. So really, to tell you the truth, I think the best thing about Edmentum and also Apex, it's the support. I mean, we get so much support from them that we have trainings for our teachers. I heard it earlier in the group, and like when Clover was talking earlier and also Kershaw, our stories are just identical. I mean, it's the same thing. We're all facing the same challenges. So when we were deciding to use Courseware, it all came from just a conversation of someone coming to our office one day and saying, hey, listen, we need to do something for our virtual students. So we started talking about how we had Apex. And for us, we needed something that was easy for our kids to get into. And Courseware just had that edge of going into Schoology. Honestly, Tam's going to show a little bit of picture later on of how we set that up. It's like 4 steps where we just had a link that goes into an external tool, and it's right there for our kids to get to. So everything that Clover was saying with Canvas is identical for us with Schoology, and we had no problems. Our teachers were able to put that link in there. Everything links to Power School. The course is right there. The kids go into the Schoology classes just like they're using, and it was simple. So we sent out these instructions to our teachers. That's all we sent to them. We said, this is where we're going to start. We're going to have a training coming up here. We had the training with our rep, and it was easy. And that's what made it a success for us with our program. And remember, this is year 2 for us. So we're still in that, steps of learning our curveballs and seeing what's going on. And for Courseware, we're only in month 2.
We started mid-August.
Yeah.
Kids had already started,
Yeah,
and then we
exactly.
started.
Exactly. So we are only in month 2. But what I can say is, being in month 2, it's been very easy for us. And when we ask teachers to teach this class, I know every district's facing this right now. We don't want to ask teachers to do one more thing and put one more thing on their plate. When we showed this to them, and we had a couple of teachers that were a little wary, but when we sat down with them and showed them the courses, they're like, wait, I don't have to do any grading? Oh, no. Well, what is my role? You're an advisor. The kids will be doing this self-placed, and your goal is to meet with them, talk to them about progress. And we showed them exactly where to go to. And they're like, oh, I can see the time and everything that kid spends on this. And we're like, oh yeah, of course. So for that simple fact, it was encouraging, and it kind of won some of our teachers that were hesitant to join that program. Apex, we still use Apex for our credit recovery. We still use it for initial course because we're still in the infancy, and they've been phenomenal. So for me, when I heard that the purchase was happening with these 2 programs, I got super excited because in my mind, I'm just envisioning all the courses that are in Apex coming over in Courseware. And for me, I think it's going to be a great marriage, and I'm excited to see what happens here in the future with it. And I think our teachers will be too, because it will bring the best of both worlds at the secondary level for our teachers.
And something to go along with that is we've had Apex in our district for a decent amount of time. And how we utilized it for, like you said, credit recovery and that initial credit, we only have like the Apex labs. So we had basically a proctor, an assistant in there, but not somebody who could coach them on the content specifically if they really needed that additional support. So for us, it was kind of a branding issue with how we implemented Apex to, and like you said, we still are using Apex and we're really excited for them to kind of come together even more. But for us to kind of try to make that merge with just our ones that are doing this completely self-paced course, it was able, and we have those coaches that are like experts in that content area. So they are there as that additional support and they get a stipend for that extra that they're doing. And like you said, we literally started after students started with Courseware, kind of did a pilot, like we're gonna make this work because of the Schoology connection that will show, because it's very similar to exact how it works as well. Okay, so where we're hoping to be, like, we're still working on rolling out a few things for, we started Courseware last month. So kind of really refining and implementing what the revisions that we've made, but then also with our new coaches, trying to regularly share data and have the discussions that need to be had on a more personal level, that with the two of us, it just hasn't been a realistic, like we just haven't had enough time in the day to do that with trying to troubleshoot and get everything where they need to go. So also trying to get, we really liked that concept of those like champion schools. So since people have been presenting, we're back there trying to plan like, who do we think in our district could do that for us? So we're excited to try to get some of those, because it's contagious, especially from hearing, the Camden Elementary principal. You can tell like they have it going on, and that is an expectation, and she's really excited about it, and her teachers are excited about that. So getting that more on our individual school levels, we're excited to move forward. So I will say there have been some roadblocks or bumps, and I'm going to go through some of these and talk through some of our solutions. And then if you guys have had some similar things, what you guys have done as well. So for us, it was not a mandate initially. We're working on trying to make it more of a mandate, but from us at the district level, sometimes, that district just tells all the people to do things. So trying to, slowly push, but then, provide enough support, but try to build those schools. I know you guys know what I'm talking about from that district. I want to know who this district is, like, what? District. But I know we started, so we purchased, like I said, Exact Path and Study Island K-8. And then mid-year, the state decided to purchase Dreambox, and that kind of threw a wrench in the math side. So us trying to figure out what that means, because just another program isn't necessarily what's right for students. So we've kind of separated the uses between the two. Since I know we're all South Carolina, I know that Dreambox was gifted to all of us. So I know that you all in both lands can kind of relate to that. So Dreambox for math for us is kind of our first thing. But the fact that we have math tied to Exact Path has it serve a different purpose, because Dreambox is not tied to math. So it's kind of like our secondary resource for math. And then we also have USA Test Prep. So we're just trying to figure out exactly what our recommendations are for the different needs. Does anybody kind of, I know I talked with somebody last night, and some were like, we just decided not to use Dreambox at all. And I mean, it's just, it's been an interesting experience. So I don't know if anybody in virtual land or anybody who wants to kind of share their experience. So you want to come on down? Price is right.
So, I think it's like everything else, talking about the roadblocks, that's just what I want to. For us, I mean, we have to make a decision as to what is good for our school district, for our teachers, for our students. And so what we try to do is remind it, the software that we have put. And so when the state gave, okay, we have to say, no, thank you. And that's really the way it was sometimes. I will check it out. So they don't have access to it. That way we don't have to struggle with that process.
See, and we decided to keep that gift and embrace it, but try to see how we can make them work. You know, in a happy family. And anybody else?
I will just share that we're in much a similar position, but it's a struggle.
Okay, and for virtual friends, another school district is just in a similar position, trying to figure out what that means. Because we all want to do what's right for our students, so it's just nice to hear the perspectives. Because I just really wanted to, you know, make it more about what everybody else is kind of going through too. Okay, so I already talked about this roadblock a little bit, that some of our kindergarten friends, they just like to say that things are not developmentally appropriate if they don't fully understand them. So we also just found that Reading Eggs really provided a lot more resources for those emerging readers. So we're working on that implementation with Reading Eggs currently. And the way that we decided to do it is, like, on our end, we have to manually enter those accounts. And because you can't roster them and have manual entries as well. So since we didn't just do it based on like all kindergarten, all of this, all of that, and we have some schools that are just 3rd through 5th grade, and that would have been very difficult to manage one school for like 2 students. So I am manually entering them into Reading Eggs based on their things, but I have found a good like workaround for it with ClassLink, because also if I'm manually entering, that means that they have to manually enter their usernames and passwords, and if they don't know their letters, then that would not be very good. I can just hear the screams from people. But we have figured out in ClassLink, use ClassLink, the form post with extension. So whenever I do my bulk upload into Reading Eggs, I include their username for ClassLink. So then as long as, and I assign the app to them, whenever they click on it, it will autofill their username and password. So on my end, I thought it was a little bit more work for me, but I thought it was worth it to meet the needs of all of the students, even our ones that might be in a higher grade level. So we'll see how that goes, because it's new, like I said. And then I know everybody, this virtual school, virtual academy, any kind of rostering for anything was a struggle, especially last year. And it sounds like everybody has their virtual academies set up differently in PowerSchool. So Exact Path was great we didn't have any issues with our virtual academy students. Study Island, on the other hand, we spent a long time through that roadblock. But we actually have a solution now, figured out with ClassLink, a way that, because how we have our setup is our students technically live at their home school in PowerSchool, and they're remotely enrolled to the virtual academy. So, like I said, between hours between Study Island and ClassLink, figured out a good click of a button to make it so the right work shows up, because they cannot have multi-tendencies in Study Island. So if you also have some of that issue and you have ClassLink, at the end, feel free to put that in there, and I would be happy to help with that if you need it. And I will say that is not just like an Edmentum issue, as I'm sure all of you know, like something that we've had to work through with. So I will say another thing is trying to figure out with NWEA or diagnostic. And luckily this year we went to the NWEA connection, like the integration, and made it so our windows are very long. So that helps a little bit for people that come late if they need to test. But some of it, if they still miss it, it would be nice if we could just assign a diagnostic for one kid in that school. I know that we can pick based on the school. So right now, since we just added high school, we are trying to decide which one we want for high school, because that one is more complex than like our elementary school friends. So, and I think in some of our last discussions, I know that that's something that is working towards that solution too.
Eric's taking notes.
I hope this is like, I asked Eddie and John Robert, so what do you want, like, how do you want me to talk about these things? Just because I know that that was just one thing that, first, that would be really nice if we could do that. So, and you know, we're very happy customers. I will say that too. So, and one of the things that has been fantastic this year, especially with what he was talking about with that Schoology connection. Now it is with Courseware, and it's also with ExactPath now. But I will say how we did our integration was different than what was shared earlier, because there are two kinds of LTI solutions for these programs. So there's the traditional LTI that we are a lot more familiar with as instructional technology people, but it also just some of the data that you get from the reports in Edmentum, you lose a lot of that through the traditional LTI standard. So what was shared earlier, that is the traditional LTI. It is nice because you can do that grade pass back, but something that is new, I think, was it this year? This year with the full access LTI. So the full access LTI basically opens up the entire program within Schoology or Canvas. So it kind of tricks them in my head, because they just click on the LTI link like they're used to, but it just opens up the whole platform. So a lot of the things within the platform that you lose from that LTI link, it just takes them directly into it. So I took some screenshots to help with this. So my mother is a second grade teacher at our virtual academy. So she is always my guinea pig of things. So this is, I guess, for today. So here are ICANN statements, and in Schoology, she has some of these things for them to do. Now, they do get on and just work on their paths, but she's also been assigning specific assignments as well based on their needs and what they're learning. So she said to complete their exact path assignment. And in the folder, you'll see it says Terror Temple, because that is what the assignment that she assigned to them in exact path is called. So whenever they click on it, they click on the Terror Temple. And now this is the teacher view, because I was logging as her, but it opens up. So this is Schoology. It opens up the whole platform. And for the student, it will open up the whole platform as well. So this is the teacher view, but you see it opens up in that whole window. So you can't, there are pros and cons to both, and I'm pretty sure that you're probably going to talk a little bit about some of this later. But we also have to make a decision between, do we want the traditional LTI or do we want to utilize the full access LTI? It has a whole lot of capabilities, but for Courseware, especially, we decided that it would be really good, just literally our classes, our teachers just have to put the full access LTI link into Schoology. Schoology already rostered, so it had their students. And with this, I don't know if this is the correct term or not, but it'll basically roster them as well. So you also kind of choose between full access LTI and ClassLink rostering essentially. So they didn't have to like go somewhere else. Our high school teachers especially know Schoology really well. So those directions that Jonathan talked about earlier, they were like, wait, like that, I just have to put that link in there, and then they literally just click on the same link and then they just go to it. Yes, that's all you do, that's all they do, that's it. The one thing that we did have to kind of work through, because that grade pass back doesn't work like to Schoology that way. And I know they're talking about working on making it so it will pass back to Power School. I'm just trying to take all of your talking points. I'm just gonna take all of your talking points for later. So we're excited about that, but all our Courseware teachers that we've told them to do is just put like their final grade in. So they don't have to put in all of their grade book. And right now they can actually export the grade book, so if they wanted to put one way, they can. But that has been a game changer. Now I will say her exact path right now, support friends, if we ever call them, they probably wouldn't like it, but it's fine for right now. Because like I said, you're supposed to kind of choose between the two. You do full access LTI for exact path, or you use ClassLink. I did not want to throw a wrench in the people that were actually utilizing it through ClassLink last year and be like, wait, you can't do that anymore. So luckily, like I said, my mom's been doing it this way, and I know like her students probably go through ClassLink some too, and there haven't been any problems so far. So if it's on a larger scale, I think it would be an issue, and hopefully we'll end up kind of moving more that way. But for right now, and support hasn't like yelled at me yet, so hopefully it'll stay that way.